भगवान श्री योगी रामसूरतकुमार की सर्वं योगी रामसूरतकुमारार्पणमस्तु। So it's been one more day of 2 sessions of Bhagwan's Nama Sankirtan. Let us offer our deep gratitude for this and continue our stories of His glory. As I have said before, it's been a Leela Samudram, an ocean of Leelas, an ocean of grace. Now we shall see how Bhagwan handled some devotees and what we can learn from that. We are going to relive the experience of Sri Appanayangar from Srivilliputturu, his friend Sri Perumalappan, and his friend and relative Sri Rattina Swami. They started as a group of 4, which included Sri Appanayangar's wife, Sri Jayalakshmi Amma, from Srivilliputturu, a place near Madurai. It was on the 12th of October, 1999. They started from Srivilliputturu for darshan of Bhagwan in Thiruvanamalai. At that time, the ashram, Bhagwan was giving darshan at the ashram, the dining hall. When they landed in Thiruvanamalai at the ashram, it was nearly 5:30 or so. The next day was the 13th, and on the 14th, Sri Appanayangar had to go back for his mother's ceremony in remembrance of her, for the departed soul. There's a Hindu ritualistic ceremony. So he had fixed everything very cosily, expecting darshan the same day evening, and then he would start on the 13th morning at 9 o'clock so that he could reach home by evening on the same day, and the 14th he could conduct the ceremony. But Bhagwan had different plans. So when they reached the ashram in the evening, Sri Shankar Rajulu, at the time he was living in the ashram only, he said, ashram is going to honor your wife, Sri Jayalakshmi Amma. She would be worshipped. She would be chosen as Mahalakshmi because the next 3 days the ashram would be celebrating the Navaratri, and those 3 days were meant for Mahalakshmi. So Sri Shankaracharya informed him the ashram had chosen his wife Jayalakshmi Amma as Mahalakshmi, and she would be offered the honor with a sari and a few other things. Well, he was very happy about it. It's a great, great blessing because it was going to happen with the permission of Bhagwan. They had arranged everything. He could not say no, which meant they had to stay the evening of the following day. And what was more, Sri Shankaracharya further informed him that Bhagwan was going to give darshan, the private darshan to him, only the next day evening at 4:30. So he said, okay, what can I do? And everything is left to Bhagwan, and whatever pleases him is okay. Now, the next day, morning, they had darshan when Bhagwan was coming in the car for breakfast, and again 10 to 12 darshan, and again they had darshan of Bhagwan while he was leaving, and again in the afternoon 4 o'clock when Bhagwan landed in the ashram again. At 4:30, so Bhagwan came out of Pradhan Mandir. He got seated there outside Pradhan Mandir in a chair, and they used to hand over a list of people Bhagwan had to give private darshan to. Now in the meantime, Sri Appanayangar with his friend Malappan and Sri Rattina Swami and wife Jayalakshmi Amma, they were seated in the dining hall where Namas and Kirtan was going on and some bhajans as well. But they knew they would be called any time, so they were going through some rehearsals, like how Perumalappan had to present his problem, how Sri Rattina Swami had to talk about his problem. And Jayalakshmi Amma, Sri Appanayangar's wife, also had something to present to Bhagwan. So they were going through it very carefully, and suddenly this call came from Bhagwan. Call Appanayangar. So they came and informed in the dining hall, and then these people were very enthusiastically rehearsing over what they had to say when Bhagwan called her. Suddenly, there was fear in their heart, fear and awe, as we say in English. And then they just forgot, they clean forgot everything that they rehearsed so carefully. They were overwhelmed by the call, very excited about it, and the excitement, they forgot everything else. They just piled out, started to move towards Bhagwan. Now this time, Perumalappan had brought a statue of Yogi Ramsuratkumar. It's a sandalwood statue, very beautifully done. He had brought it to get blessed by Bhagwan so that he could take it home and worship it. So when they approached, they saw 5 chairs neatly arranged on the left side of Bhagwan. And Appan wondered, why 5? And suddenly he knew that Bhagwan knew that Perumalappan had brought the sandalwood statue of Bhagwan. Just see how meticulously every need is being taken care of. So first, as they rehearsed before, Sri Perumalappan went near him. He kept the sandalwood statue in the first chair near Bhagwan and fell at his feet. He offered something wrapped in a newspaper 2 packets. And then Bhagwan gestured to him to sit. So he sat next to the chair which had Bhagwan's statue. And then followed Shiapanengar. And when he prostrated before Bhagwan, suddenly there was anger in the countenance of Bhagwan. Bhagwan became Rudramurti, like Lord Shiva. And he started to say angrily, a little loudly. He was talking about Kumara Kovil, Ramji Ashram. He said this beggar wanted Papa's photograph there, Mathaji's photograph there, Mathaji Krishnabai's photograph. And this beggar's photograph to be kept in a corner. This was my instruction to the people who were running the ashram. But something else is happening there. What is this? Shiapanengar kept quiet with folded hands in all earnestness, looked at him. Then Bhagwan jumped over to the next topic. Bhagwan said, now this beggar asked you people, Perumalappan, some problem is there, and these people had already brought this problem to this beggar. It's been going on for years. And then he said, Appan, are you writing an article on Sri Gyananandagiri Swami and this beggar? Yes, you have been writing. This beggar has seen that. Now why would you write about this beggar? You write about Sri Gyananandagiri Swami, it's Jnanavali, it's a magazine of the Povanam. Sri Vidyanandagiri started writing about Sri Gyananandagiri Swami, and then he stopped. Then Sri Haridas Giri Swami picked up. He was singing bhajans, giving speeches on Swami. He revived the singing and the talk on him. But after that, now you have revived it by writing about the two of us. But why would you write about this beggar? You write about Sri Gyananandagiri. Bhagwan, when he said, Shiapanengar has written that you gave life, he uses the word gave life, which could mean possibly that any magazine that speaks of the glory of a Mahatma must necessarily have the glorious Leelas and the teachings of the Mahatma, which would be the life of the magazine. For other topics, there are other magazines. But any ashram publishing any particular magazine must be a vehicle for the teachings of the great Mahatma, for the glorious Leelas of the Mahatma. Like Bhagwan had said to us, it's only when you remember God, you come alive. You truly live. When you forget God, you are dead. You're not serving the purpose of life. And the purpose of life is God remembrance. So Bhagwan said, you write about Swami Gyanananda. Drop this beggar out. You have given life to this magazine by writing about Swami Gyanananda. Keep it up. Drop this beggar out. Then Sri Appanengar said, Swami, how can I give life to a magazine? How can I revive anything? I don't have the Shakti for it. It is all the Shakti that's given by you. It is by your grace that I am able to write anything at all in the magazine. I will do as you say. So when he stretched his hand pathetically and admitted his weakness, admitted the glory of Bhagwan, how the grace worked upon him. Bhagwan's countenance changed. It slowly it changed from a countenance of anger to one of softness, love and laughter. Now Swami became very calm, and he kept up the cheer, which of course encouraged his people to continue to present their problems. So they were all seated, and then Sri Appanengar introduced Rattina Swami. And then Perumalappan started to say, Perumalappan and his relative, Sri Rattina Swami, and another relative, the three of them started a business, they were running it. And then they found out after some time that the third partner, had cheated these two people all along. That he had taken away some 40 lakhs from Rattina Swami's part and 20 lakhs of Perumalappan. So they were complaining against the third partner and were lamenting over their loss. Then Bhagwan said, you know, Appan, this problem is there for a number of years now. This beggar once sent an auditor to that place. The auditor came back and said, nothing could be done. It's too complicated. Then Sri Appanengar said, Bhagwan, no auditor can solve these problems. Only a Bhagwan like you can do it. He begged. And that put Swami in the right frame of mood. Suddenly Swami began to laugh. He laughed and so cheerfully, so happily. Oh, Appan says, only this beggar can do that. Oh, it's like that. அந்த மாதிரி சொல்கிறார் Appan. Oh, you think so, Appan? You think only this beggar can solve this problem? It's like that. Oh. And then he began to laugh. He laughed, and then everybody relaxed. And then Bhagwan's attention turned to the statue, the sandal statue. When these people, the group of 4, when they were coming from Srivilliputturu to Thiruvanamalai, they stopped at Tirukkovilur and they had their food there, the lunch there, The three men had their proper lunch because Jayalakshmi Amma said that her mouth had the tongue, there were cuts there and it was very painful and she could not eat the normal food. And so she had brought with her a loaf of bread and some jam. Now Swami here asked these people, who did this statue? Shri Perumalappan said, there is one State Bank of India official, Ranganathan. It is his son Sendil who did that. Bhagwan was looking at it deeply and said, this Sendil is doing only this job, nothing else? And they were surprised again because Sendil was running a bakery. So they said, he knows this carving, at the same time he's also running a bakery. Oh, this beggar knows. Jayalakshmi took her bread only from this bakery. And again, they were shocked, surprised, delightfully. Oh, Swami knew what we ate. Swami knew that Jayalakshmi took only the bread in the afternoon for lunch, and that too from the bakery of Sendil. Even the smallest detail is known to Swami. Nothing ever escapes his attention. This is what Shriappan thought. Because every time he came to Bhagwan, he understood something new, a new dimension of Bhagwan. Every time it was surprise, delight, excitement, and the heart filled with peace and love and joy. So now Bhagwan said, okay, this beggar would attend to you. A little later, you people sit there. So he made them sit on one side, and then he asked for that day's list of people. A family came, husband and wife and 2 children. They took his blessings and left. And then three people from Malaysia came. Bhagwan blessed them nicely, and they left. And then one politician came. This politician said that he had won the election from Periyakulam, had become an MP. Then Bhagwan said, be a good MP. My father blesses you. And dismissed him. So in those 1.5 hours, when he was attending to other people there was another from Aksar Paints. 2 people had come with a car, with a key of a new car. Bhagwan blessed it and gave it to them. So this was going on for nearly 1.5 hours, and all the time these 4 people were seated there basking in the light and grace of Bhagwan. They were absolutely delighted that they could sit there for so long in the presence of Bhagwan. And they realized what a blessing it was all the time to sit in the shrine of Bhagwan. Now, the driver drew the attention of Bhagwan to the packets that were kept at his feet. Every time Perumalappan came to see Bhagwan, he would keep a packet of 10,000 rupees wrapped in newspaper at his feet. Now this time also he had brought 10,000 rupees wrapped in the newspaper. And then this Ratina Swami had brought 5,000 rupees. So there were 2 packets at the feet of Bhagwan. Then Bhagwan took them. And that's when Appanayangar said, Swami, this Ratina Swami, every time we celebrate Jayanti, your Jayanti there, he comes there and he distributes prizes. He has also given money for the ashram constructions. And at the time I gave him one photograph of Bhagwan and he is worshipping it. He is now offering this 5,000 rupees for the ashram. Bhagwan said, oh. And then he took both the currencies and then he put one over the other. The 5,000 was kept over the 10,000. And then said, Perumalappan, you take this money as this beggar's money given to you by Father. This beggar would like you to build a temple there and keep this statue there. You build a temple, you and Ratina Swami build a temple for this statue, for this murti in Shiviliputtu. Keep this money for that. So he gave it back to them. And then he took out a fruit. He said, Appan, will you please go to the Sendil who carved the murti here? You have to go to his shop, the bakery, and hand it over to him personally and tell him, convey to him the pranams of this beggar. So Appanayangar took the fruit. Now they felt very happy and fulfilled because Perumalappan's problem, Ratina Swami's problem about their business was over. But Jayalakshmi Amma, she wanted to say something. It was about Perumalappan's daughter, Dhanalakshmi. So, and Perumalappan would not talk about his problems at all. So he would always say, Appan, you please present my problem. Now this time Jayalakshmi Amma presented it. It's all because they were afraid. Somehow people would tremble in the presence of Bhagwan. We would be so scared because any time if we make a wrong move, if we made a wrong move, he would send us out. When the heart would be longing to sit, continue to sit in his presence, he might easily dismiss us from there. That would be a great cause for deep grief. So Perumalappan wouldn't talk about his own problems, but now Jayalakshmi Amma said, Swami, Perumalappan's daughter Dhanalakshmi, please bless her nicely. So they got blessings for every problem that they had brought with them. Now they were happy and fulfilled. It was 13th evening, and now Appanayangar had no fear of night travel. Bhagwan is there, Bhagwan is leaving us at this time, which means we have to take some bus, for the night bus, so that we would be there in Shiviliputtu at 6 o'clock in the morning, and he could attend that ceremony for his mother. So this is just an experience, not particularly So they were preparing to leave. Now, let's go through what Bhagwan had to say in this. He's saying to Appanenga, when there is a magazine as a vehicle for the teachings and the glories of the Master, that gives life to the magazine. A magazine is a vehicle for the teachings of the Master, for the Leelas of the Master. So Bhagwan was urging him to write more and more about a Mahatma, his glory. And then Bhagwan was angry in the beginning, but as Appanenga began to appeal to him, entreat him again and again, Swami, it is you, your grace, I am nothing before you. It is your grace. I would do exactly as you say. Whatever I have done, I have not done out of my own volition. It's your Shakti, your grace, your blessings that I could do this at all. I understand that we should write about Sri Jnanananda Swami, reviving these writings on him. Bhagwan had said, Appanenga has written that Bhagwan said he had given life to the magazine. On the outset, on the surface, it could only mean that you write more about, that is, you have revived. Probably there was a gap. And then Sri Appanengar has picked up the theme of Sri Jnanananda Giri and he started to write the Leelas of him. So on the surface it could mean that Appanengar has started once again to write on Jnanananda Giri in the magazine of the Pavanam. If we go a little deeper into it, hadn't Bhagwan said to us that when you chant the name, when you remember God, when you chant the name of God, you truly live. When you forget God, you are dead. So it's only when we write about these great masters, when we talk about their Leelas, when we give out their teachings, when we reach them out to people around, we truly live. So this is a lesson for all of us that we should remember. When the Kanimata Kumbhabhishekam was going to happen, and people were saying that they would chant the Nama and install the statue. Bhagwan said, no, you have to do it in the traditional way. Call those Shastris, the Pothis. They should come and chant Veda Mantra, the Kumbhabhisheka must be done. It should be done in the traditional way. If you people say that you would do the Nama chanting and install the statue, this beggar would die. It was a shock to all of us because we were thinking that Nama chanting was the only one expected of us. And none of us were really prepared for this ritualistic Kumbhabhishekam. I, for one, was surprised also. I was thinking, what is this Bhagwan saying? That it should be done in a traditional way. When we wanted to do our Grahapravesam of Sudama, we told him the same thing. We said, Swami, you please come over to Sudama. You are entering Sudama is entering the house ceremony. Entering the house ceremony is called Grahapravesam. It could be done with rituals, with the Shastris, We thought it could be done by Bhagwan's coming there and our chanting the name. Bhagwan said, no. You call the Shastris, you do the homas, you do it in the traditional way. This beggar would come and be present there. This beggar would bless the whole function, but that should be done the traditional way. And likewise, here also he said, Kanimatam Kumbhabhisheka must be done the most traditional way with the Shastris. Why would he say, if you keep people chant this name and do this installation, this beggar would die? Now he is telling Appanayanga, you revived. Sri Vidyanandagiri started to write and speak about Sri Jnananandagiri, and that stopped. And then Sri Haridas Giri revived it by doing bhajans on him, by talking about him. And now Appan, you have revived it by writing about Sri Jnanananda Swami. And this beggar in the magazine, but this beggar would like you to drop this beggar out and write only on Jnananandagiri. So here it's very clear, because maybe when we chant the name, we cannot claim that we do it with entire concentration. While we chant the name, many of us together, our minds would be wandering here and there. And it may not have the power that is expected for installation. Whereas the Veda mantras done by the Shastris, they had to pronounce it only in a certain way, and the mantras have their own power. So probably that's why Bhagwan preferred it, and also the Mahatmas come down to revive the traditions, the Hindu traditions, to keep up the Shastras, to make people do what is prescribed in the Shastras. It's a responsibility for them. So considering all this, we know that chanting the name is our sadhana, yes, but unless we do it with total concentration, with devotion, with the mind fixed on Bhagwan, it won't be the same. Now this Bhagwan is seated here in front of us. Bhagwan who harmonized. 3 people were together in business and the third person was cheating them. And now by keeping the currencies together from both of them, one over the other, and joining the two to build a temple, he made sure that this party became strong, so that no one else could cheat them in the business anymore. So he was doing everything symbolically. And it is up to us to rise up to his language. We call it paribhasha. Bhagwan always spoke indirectly. He would only drop hints, and he would sometimes talk in symbols. And each one would take whatever they could make of it, which would depend upon their understanding capacity and their nature. Now we know Yogi Ramsuratkumar as Bhagwan, all-pervasive, all-knowing, all-powerful. And his murti is here, right in front of us, filling the whole space of the ashram with his power and grace. It's very, very strange that people who come inside and they have had a dragging problem, and the minute they step inside, there is some solution. Immediately they get a phone call or some news from somebody to say that the problem was solved. Just as soon as they got inside, as soon as they get inside the ashram, we see them. I see quite some people coming and telling me how the minute they entered the ashram, everything changed. There is such magic in the air. Now this magician is here. Let us submit our today's prayers at his feet. Bhagwan, thou art omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. There is nothing that you do not know. You even mentioned what Jayalakshmi Amma ate for her lunch and where it came from.